Serious. What's your real ghost story? My great-grandma died in '92. My auntie got the phone call that night. The next morning, my then 3-year-old cousin came out of her room and sleepily mentioned, "Mama, Grandma Rose, the one who'd just died, visited me last night. She said to tell you that her hip doesn't hurt anymore." We started hearing knocks on the siding, second floor, as if someone was at the door. This followed loud banging in the basement every night. I decided to record through the night, and this snowflake ornament started spinning long after all had gone to bed. There was no draft as the other ornaments didn't move. When I played it back I heard a man's voice repeatedly calling me a hoe. I still live there. Lol, sorry I laughed at this one. My grandmother coming to me in a dream to tell me she died. I was in China at the time. When I called home, the family and girlfriend lied about it. The next night I had the same dream and called home to check in, but they lied again. I finally got my girlfriend to admit it. The dream stopped. When I got home, I was told that the last thing my grandmother said was to ask for me by name. My grandma came to me the night she passed too. I was in school and working, so I couldn't leave to visit her. My dad said it was okay and to focus on school. Couple of days later she came to me in my dream. She looked like she did when I was a kid and was wearing pajamas she always wore. She said she was leaving. In the dream I felt like I knew where she was going and understood. I told her I was going to miss her and she said she would too. Woke up and my buddy was giving me a ride to work and my dad calls me crying. She had passed. I told my dad my dream and he believed me. He was happy that I saw her before she left. I don't believe in ghosts, gods, or anything supernatural, but I still can't deny what happened. I used to work in a bar that wasn't exactly a jail, but temporarily held people awaiting court and sentencing. Everyone had stories about the residential ghost, who we called Sebastian. First time I saw Sebastian, I looked down the stairs while I was opening, and saw some legs in black pants and smart shoes. The ceiling obscured his torso upwards. When I went downstairs to ask how he got in, he ran down the hallway and vanished. A few other staff members mentioned seeing a man in a black suit who would be in the bar after hours while you'd be cleaning, but when you'd approach or speak to him, he'd turn a corner and disappear. Sometimes after closing, you'd hear someone ringing the bells on staff members' bikes downstairs, or you'd hear a crash and the bikes would be moved to a different place. Other times, you'd see a man in black duck into the office, and by the time you'd enter he'd be gone. The clincher that convinced us all that it wasn't just a thing we all believed because we all joked about it so often was the day the new chefs came. They didn't speak much English and would leave once dinner service was over, so they never engaged in the Sebastian stories. One day, one of them asked about a man in black kept leaning on the ordering window while they were cleaning. Sebastian was pretty chill though. He never scared us or did anything mean. I think he just liked hanging out. Greater than I used to work in a bar that wasn't exactly a jail, but temporarily held people awaiting court and sentencing. I like how it sounds like the bar was for those awaiting court. Lemme just grab a quick tequila before court. Was visiting a friend in Chicago. She told me under no uncertain terms, the ghost of a woman who lived there wasn't really fond of men staying there. I was told that I needed to make sure I closed any door behind me, lest she slam the door behind me. Sure as shit. First night I'm there. I get up to go pee in the middle of the night. I didn't close the bedroom door when I came back from the bathroom. Door slammed so hard it knocked a piece of art off the damn wall. Damn. When I was reading the very last line my bedroom door slammed. TNX God, it was the wind smiley face. But I almost had a stroke. Rural Tennessee. This isn't exactly a ghost, but close enough. My cousin was a recovering meth addict. He moved back to his home state, and was building his life back, but his dad was zero help. His dad is a selfish con artist with no real friends because he keeps robbing them. This jerk let his son sleep in the woods, in a sleeping bag, and kept saying he had to prove it, that he changed. He was walking to work, supporting his daughter, etc. He was really trying. One day, my dad finds out cousin was walking to work, and just hands him the keys to the extra car, a small, very old SUV. Cousin just starts crying. The next day, cousin throws open the front door, and asks dad to call cousin's father to confirm that he did not steal those keys, while crying. 2 weeks later, cousin hangs himself in the woods behind the house. His funeral was held, his daughter was there. Everyone is patting my uncle on the back like some kind of goddamn victim, when his selfish asshole caused the suicide. We get home, and walk to the door. There's this big 6-point buck standing 15 feet from the door. We didn't see it walk up, and have never seen a deer get this close to the house. It stood and stared for about 20 seconds, turned, and slowly walked to the woods. Your uncle sounds like an absolutely horrible person. While your cousin was giving it his best, his own father was holding him down. I'm sorry for your family's loss. Posted this elsewhere recently, but my biological dad lives in a creepy old farmhouse he renovated. I was helping him build out the office late one night. He went to the bathroom, and I kept plunking away. I was on the floor and set my hammer down. I felt something, a presence, and looked to where I thought someone would be. Nothing. I reach back down for my hammer and it's out of arm's reach, maybe 5 feet further than where I had set it down. I hadn't moved, at all. He comes back after he's finished and I tell him what had just happened. He laughed and said, "The little girl must be playing with you." Little girl, what? He then tells me that every now and then he hears a little girl laughing, and has even seen her. She's always wearing the same pair of overalls and she just kind of wanders around upstairs. I'm not one to believe in paranormal experiences, but I have no explanation other than a little girl ghost just wanted to play. I think they just want to have their presence known. Everybody needs attention, or they go crazy. This occurred when I was around 2 years old, so I personally have no memory of the experience, so this is mostly based on what people have told me. I was staying with my paternal grandparents, and I described to my grandmother about how a lady with a dog sat down and read to me in her backyard. She asked what the name of the dog was, and I told her that its name was Bo. My grandmother called my mom and told her what I had said, and my mom told her that my maternal grandmother, who passed away a few years before I was born, had a dog named Bo for a while. There was absolutely no way that I could have known about that prior to telling my grandma, so I 100% believe that the ghost of my maternal grandmother decided to pay me a visit that day. Edited because I left a couple words out. I have 2 stories. First was when I was working private security about 8 years ago. I was contracted out to a bicycle race event. I was on the night shift, meaning I was just sitting for 12 hours a night watching where they stored many of the bicycles and other event gear. Specifically, everything was stored on a little lakeside beach that the hotel owned. I guess the hotel was sponsoring the event? Not sure on the details. The beach was far from a scary or secluded place. The hotel was right up to the beach and the whole place was dimly lit. There were signs up saying that the beach was off limits after event hours. This was mostly respected by people. It was near the start of my shift and it was after event hours. The sun was nearly fully set, so it was getting pretty dark. I see a woman with black hair, a white blouse and long skirt sitting on a boulder next to the water. I start walking up to her to inform her the place is off limits, but about 15 feet away I stop. I never understood the phrase, "frozen in fear," until this moment. The hair on the back of my neck stood up, my stomach churned, everything in my body told me not to get any closer. I couldn't do anything but stare at the back of this woman. I don't know how long I was standing there before one of the event coordinators came up behind me and said a brief goodbye and that all the staff, volunteers were gone for the night. I briefly looked to him and said, "Okay," and looked back. The woman was gone. I had a pretty clear view of both directions, so unless she hopped in the water I have no idea where she went. For the rest of the night I kept trying to walk over to the area the woman was sitting at, but every time panic and fear would build up inside me and I couldn't do it. The next night I had zero issues going over to that area and there was nothing out of the unusual. It was just that one night. To this day, whenever I think of the event I get a bit shaky and fearful. I keep telling myself that my memory must be false and I looked away much longer. My other story is much shorter, I swear. I had just moved into my current apartment a few years ago. I was home alone one day. It was midday on the weekend. I'm walking through my living room and out of the corner of my eye I see a shadowy humanoid figure standing on my balcony. Startled, I stare right where it was, but it was gone. I laugh at myself and look away, but as soon as I do I see it in the corner of my vision again. I look, and it is gone. Thinking it is a trick of the light I take a few steps forward and then look away. Once again it is in the corner of my vision. At this point I was more curious than scared, but after that third time I wasn't able to ever replicate it again. These are both great stories, especially the scary feeling in the first one. When I was about 12 during a summer, my sister, who is 5 years older than me, was out with friends after work. We shared a bedroom. I was up late, doodling in a notebook in bed and had an older, glass TV next to my bed that was turned off. At one point I looked up and saw, in the reflection of the TV screen, my sister walk out of our bedroom doorway and into the stairwell. When I turned around to greet her, she wasn't there. I get up and walk into the stairwell and all of the lights are still off downstairs and in the bathroom next to our bedroom. So I think she must have ran downstairs really fast and head down myself to find no one again. At this point I'm getting a little spooked and I wanted to prove myself wrong, so I went outside and her car was still gone. I sprint back inside and run back upstairs to my parents' room and wake my mom up to tell her I was pretty sure I had just seen a ghost. She was too tired to do much for it, and so I went back in my bedroom, petrified. When I thought back on it, I realized the girl was in a long-sleeved dress that looked somewhat vintage, and my sister was very much a tomboy in those days. But she had blonde hair like my sister and was looking towards me while walking out of the room. I stayed awake with my light on until my actual sister got home, and I felt safe to sleep. It still creeps me out a bit to think about it to this day. I don't really believe much in an afterlife, but I know I saw a young girl walking out of the door. I wasn't really tired. I hadn't been watching anything earlier in the evening to scare me, and even further wasn't scared when I first saw her because I thought it was just my sister. I can't explain it though. Never saw her or anything like it again.
Thank you so much for watching and have a good day.